It's time for news on Luntha television with me, Charity Chilanka. Let's have a look at the top stories. Pope Leo XIV reflects on the harmony of the Church's human and divine dimensions. Malawi Revenue Authority targets 6.07 trillion kwacha revenue collection in 2026-2027 financial year. Government calls for unity to protect and empower women ahead of International Women's Day. And in other news, United Kingdom government moves to protect asylum system with tough new visa restrictions. We do have the details to these and many other stories. Stay tuned. Pope Leo XIV has reflected on the Church as both human and divine, emphasizing that these dimensions coexist in harmony, rooted in Christ and lived throughout history. During his weekly general audience at the Vatican, the Holy Father continued his catechesis on the Second Vatican Council's Lumen Gentium, highlighting how the Church is a complex reality grounded in God's plan, yet embodied in real people. We have a Vatican News report being read in our studio by Padre Popa.
The Pope explained that the Church is neither an idolized spiritual entity nor detached from earthly life, but she is a community of men and women who experience both joy and struggle while proclaiming the gospel. Yet she is also the mystical body of Christ, a spiritual reality present in history and journeying towards heaven. He underlined that the human and divine dimensions of the Church integrate seamlessly, saying the Church welcomes sinners and guides them to God, just as Christ's humanity revealed his divine presence. The Holy Father said through the concrete lives of her members, the Church continued to manifest Christ's saving action in the world. Finally, Pope Leo encouraged the faithful to contribute to the Church not only through her visible structures, but also by fostering communion and charity. He said, by living an authentic witnesses of Christ's love, believers help build up the Church and make his presence visible in the world.
The Malawi Revenue Authority MRA has set an ambitious 6.07 trillion kwacha revenue target for the 2026-2027 financial year, saying it is confident the goal can be achieved through ongoing reforms and improved collection strategies. The authority's Commissioner General Felix Tamblas disclosed this today while presenting its budget before the Parliamentary Cluster Committee on Budget and Public Accounts at Parliament Building in Lilongwe. Tamblas said the MRA collected over 4 trillion kwacha in the 2025-2026 financial year and expects to meet its annual target with 350 billion kwacha more this time, emphasizing modernization, efficiency, and better taxpayer engagement. Constance Katemen has more in this report.
MRA Commissioner General Felix Tamblas said strategies and reforms are in place to reach the 6.07 trillion kwacha target set by the Minister of Finance. The authority expects to collect 102 billion kwacha from its 3% retention and 39.4 billion kwacha from service fees, raising total income by 39.8%. It plans to spend 192.42 billion kwacha on operations, including 77.9 billion kwacha for salaries, and aims for a surplus of 39.63 billion kwacha to invest in equipment, infrastructure, and modernization, even though a deficit of about 39.2 billion kwacha will be covered with carried forward funds and donor support.
No, we will do that, and I can assure the nation that we will be able to correct the 6.07 1.7 trillion that the Ministry of Finance has put as a target for us. We've put in place various measures that will improve our strategies to make sure that we achieve the target that the Minister has set.
Commenting on the projected revenue, Sosten Gwengwe, chairperson of the Budget and Public Accounts Cluster, has said that the projected budget is reasonable, but has urged MRA to maintain progressive taxation so that higher earners contribute more while protecting low-income earners and small businesses. Gwengwe stressed the importance of taxpayer education, particularly on the electronic invoicing system (EIS) and issuing receipts, warning that public understanding is key to smooth implementation and compliance.
Basically for MRA, because their budget is already preset at 3% of the revenue that will be collected, so they will be collecting about 6 trillion and 3% of that, they'll be having a budget of about 182 billion Malawi kwacha, which is not bad. For the previous year, they have also performed pretty well with a lot of reforms and modernization. But the key thing which the cluster was really impressing on them as they execute their budget is also to look at the progressive nature.
The Malawi Revenue Authority is confident it can reach the 6.07 trillion target by improving systems and helping taxpayers understand their law. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Constance Kamtemen.
The Malawi Electoral Commission MEG said it cannot comment on the relocation of its offices or include related costs in its budget estimates without a formal resolution from the Commission. According to Acting Deputy Chief Elections Officer Hastings Botha, the Secretariat only implements the resolutions made by the Commission, and in the absence of such a decision, there is no basis to include relocation costs in the current 23 billion kwacha budget ceiling approved by Treasury. Botha made the remarks on Wednesday, March 4th, after appearing before the Public Appointments Committee of Parliament, as the committee praised the electoral body to explain missing budget lines for relocation and legal fees. More details in this report, followed by Gift Kalonga.
Acting Deputy Chief Elections Officer Hastings Botha said the Commission Secretariat works under the guidance of the Commission and cannot make decisions on the relocation without a formal resolution. He explained that the recent court ruling on the matter has not yet been discussed by the Commission, making it difficult for the Secretariat to take any position. He added that the current budget ceiling of about 23 billion does not include relocation costs because the issue was not part of the strategic submissions made to the Ministry of Finance. In absence of the resolution, there was no basis to factor such estimates into the budget. He further said the Commission had initially proposed about 164 billion kwacha to cover planned activities, including post-election reviews, stakeholder consultations, and possible legal reforms. However, the approved funding is significantly lower than what was requested.
Which would now be starting from, say, October to December. Now, what we're saying is, if we cannot get adequate funding for that, there will be a challenge. But in a way, we are assured that should such thing happen, obviously, we are going to approach the Minister of Finance to indicate that we have a vacancy in such and such areas and would want to carry out by-elections, and therefore we are requesting for funding. Our belief is that by that time, most likely, it's going to be around the mid-year budget review period, within which the Treasury can actually make adjustments to the budget by giving us additional resources. Going beyond that, we still have got to do civic and voter education during the year, because civic and voter education is a continuous activity. We do not have to wait for a general election, but any other time that we are operating as Malawi Electoral Commission, we need to conduct civic and voter education so that the electorate will remain informed.
Chairperson of the Public Appointments Committee, Felix Njawala, said committee members noted that detailed budget did not include a specific line for relocation or legal fees, despite issue being cited as key challenges by the Commission. He said the committee has since advised the Malawi Electoral Commission to go back and provide the required figures by the end of business tomorrow so that they can be incorporated into the committee's report. Njawala added that the committee will also deliberate on concerns surrounding the use of funds collected from aspirants, stressing that any position taken will be presented before Parliament.
Misuse or misallocation, because they also reported that funds for 2020 elections were invested in some business that did not go down well. MEC is not in a business of investments, so maybe they did that because they had funds that were not utilized. So as a committee we will discuss and come up with a position on this matter.
The Public Appointments Committee of Parliament has since asked the MEC Secretariat to provide the missing figures by the end of business tomorrow. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
The Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB has called on the Ministry of Health to enforce the mandatory use of name tags, official uniforms and clearly displayed duty rosters in all public hospitals as part of efforts to eliminate middlemen, commonly known as doba-doba. In a statement signed by the Acting Director General Gabriel Chambers, the ACB says it has received numerous complaints that public hospitals are being infiltrated by both internal and external middlemen, posing as doctors and nurses. Emmanuel Georgia with the details.
According to the Anti-Corruption Bureau, corruption cases have been on the rise across several government departments, including Immigration, the Road Traffic Directorate, and the Malawi Police Service, a trend that has also affected the health sector, undermining service delivery in the process. The Bureau has since urged the Ministry of Education to urgently convene a meeting with relevant stakeholders to develop a coordinated strategy to combat corruption in public hospitals. Welcoming the proposal, health expert George Jobe has described it as a step in the right direction if properly regulated, noting that it will ensure strengthened identification system that could help to restore order and accountability in public hospitals. However, Jobe has stressed the need for clear procedures to guide the implementation process, also recommending the name tags and the duty roster incorporate security features to prevent duplication or misuse.
And so that some of who support staff, hospital attendants, cleaners should not continue to cash on patients or also use the same name tag to cash on patients. We have heard about some support staff who, when a doctor tells them to bring in 3 patients for an operation, for example, they would swap names of the people. They get money from those who have money and they jump the line to be operated upon area than their colleagues. So that can protect us. But the issue is there should also be some consequences as to what will be happening for those people who either do not abide by this or those who are caught in the facilities without such.
Members of the public have since been encouraged to report suspected corrupt practices through the SCB toll-free line 113 or the Malawi government toll-free line 332. Last month, President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika issued an executive order banning doctors and nurses working in public hospitals from operating private clinics. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Georgia.
You're watching news on Luntha Television. We'll be back after this short break.
School fees kwa kuhega tobano. Listen to fees by Airdo Money. Mutagulivia school fees mosavuda kudzera pafoni yanu. Tsadirani ndondomeko zotsatirazi. Toyamba imbani *211#. Pamenyu yomwe mutapatsidwe sankhani 8 kuti mulipire fees. Pitirizani posankha 1 yomwe ndi sente fees. Kenako mudzafunsidwa kuti mulowetse admissions number. Kuchoka hapo mudzaona skulu yomwe mukufuna kulipira komanso dzina la ophunzira. Onetsetsani kuti zonse ndizolondola. Pitirirani ndi kuyika ndalama zomwe mukufuna kulipira. Lembani pini yanu ya Airtel Money kuti muvomereze kulipira. Ndipo nthawi yomweyo mudzalandira SMS yotsimikiza kuti zatheka.
If you've just joined us, I know that you're watching news on Luntha Television. Now, a reminder of the top stories. Pope Leo XIV reflects on the harmony of the Church's human and divine dimensions. Malawi Revenue Authority targets 6.07 trillion kwacha revenue collection in 2026-2027 financial year. Government calls for unity to protect and empower women ahead of International Women's Day. And in other news, United Kingdom government moves to protect asylum system with tough new visa restrictions. Moving on with the news, the government has called for collective responsibility and solidarity across all sectors to ensure every woman and girl in Malawi can fully enjoy her rights and access justice. This announcement comes ahead of Malawi's participation in the Global Communities Foundation's International Women's Day on March 8th. Deputy Minister of Gender Martha Mzomera reaffirmed the government's commitment to gender equality and justice, stressing that women and girls are central to sustainable development and must be fully protected and empowered. Tando Mzomera has filed this report.
Despite progress in strengthening legal and policy frameworks, Deputy Minister of Gender Mzomera acknowledged that significant challenges remain in Malawi's pursuit of gender justice, including limited access to justice for women and girls, especially in rural and marginalized communities. She also highlighted higher levels of gender-based violence and the economic exclusion of women, which limits their participation in and benefit from economic opportunities.
My ministry will make sure that women and girls are empowered, their rights are protected, and they are accessing on justice. My ministry, under the leadership of Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, will make sure to achieve gender equality and champion policies that will make to empower women and girls.
UN Women Deputy Country Representative Fatima Mohammed noted that despite strong legal protections for women, underfunding and cultural norms continue to hinder women from attaining leadership roles in communities.
3 women in Malawi are subjected to violence, according to national statistics. The prevalence of early marriage is also very high, at 38%. Institutional arrangements are in place when it comes to accountability. However, there are also some challenges. From UN Women's perspective, we hope that we can support the government to strengthen the gender architecture. Currently, it's working with the focal point system. As effective as it should be, it can be more effective if we move into institutionalization of gender through the units.
NGO Gender Coalition Network Coordinator Gavalet Mzembe has emphasized the urgent need to fully implement existing laws safeguarding women's rights.
We are focusing on is the gap that is there when it comes to implementation. So we need to put our efforts, a lot of efforts in implementation of these laws so that we protect women from gender-based violence, but also we move towards empowerment of women.
This year's International Women's Day in Malawi will be celebrated under the theme Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls. Activities will focus on barriers to justice, gender-based violence, reporting mechanisms, and include community outreach, regional campaigns, and youth dialogues to promote women's rights and access to justice. For Luntha News, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
Some parents of children with disabilities in Balaka have commended the Tikwanilitsi and Kutetezamo Floana Tikuma project for promoting access to education and strengthening support systems for learners with disabilities. One of the parents, Saina Alabi from Mbera village under Traditional Authority Mbela in the district, expressed her appreciation during a monitoring visit to Mbera Primary School. The project, which is being implemented by Save the Children with financial support from NORAD, is working in collaboration with the Parents of Children with Disabilities Association of Malawi to enhance inclusive education and safeguard the rights of children with disabilities. Andrew Nandolo has found this report.
The project aims to address barriers that hinder children with disabilities from accessing quality education while empowering parents and communities to actively support their learning and development. Saina Alabi said before Save the Children intervention by procuring tricycle for Alan Musa, it was difficult for her because she used to carry him to and from school, a thing she said many times Alan was not attending classes.
Anovo utokoza kwambiri ndinjinga muwalantira ndipo munhu wacheyo aliwosangalala njinga yomwe ndimaifuna kumaiti ndimene ndipo ndikuyenda kwina kulikose mufuna moyo mwanga ngakhale ineyo panopo ndikusangalalaso chifukwa ntchito yomwe ndimaisiya pakhomo ikugwirika mtima wonse ndiye pano kuthokoza atathokoza ndambuye usakhaye sitingakwanise.
Her remarks was echoed by her son Alan Musa, who said now he is able to attend classes because he is able to push himself on the tricycle. Alan, who is in standard 8, and his wish is to be district commissioner after completing his studies.
Ababa mapuzanga kwenda bwino ndiponso ndikuthokoza kuti ili ndiri wiro kwambiri ndiponso maendedwe sawo mavuta kawiri akavuta ndiye kuti penepo ndadwala kapena zachitika zina zake zondikhumudwisa.
One of Chembera Primary School teachers, Festus Kalonga, said Alan is now performing very well and that he is confident that Alan's future is now promising.
At first, he had so many problems. Even his performance was very poor, just because he was failing to attend classes normally. She had problems in movement. We used to maybe send someone, or the parents were supposed to carry him on the back, or she was crawling. So he couldn't come, or he couldn't attend the lessons every day. Most of the time he was absent. So the performance was very poor because he couldn't know what others are doing. But because of this coming of this particular tricycle, there is a very big improvement, and even the performance, at least there is that good improvement that is there.
Tikwanirese ndi kuteteza maufulu ana Tikuma project is being implemented in the districts of Balaka and Nchinji with support from NORAD through Save the Children. Reporting from Baraka, this is Andrew Nandolo.
And in news across the borders, the UK government has announced it will stop issuing new study visas to nationals from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Myanmar and Sudan starting this month. Skilled work visas for Afghans will also be suspended, according to Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. The Home Office said the move follows evidence of widespread visa abuse. Official figures show that nationals from the 4 countries are most likely to apply for asylum after initially entering the UK on study visas. More details in this BBC report read in our studio by Alison Banda.
Government data indicates asylum claims from individuals who first arrived illegally, including those who came to study, have more than tripled between 2021 and 2025. Currently, people who originally entered on study visas account for 13% of all asylum claims in the system. Statistics shows that about 95% of Afghans who arrived on study visas since 2021 later applied for asylum. Applications from Neymar students increased 16-fold, while claims students from Cameroon and Sudan more than quadrupled during the same period. Mahmood is set to introduce the changes through amendments to immigration rules on Thursday, 5th March. Previously, in November, she warned Angola, Namibia and the Democratic Republic of Congo that the UK could suspend visas unless they cooperated with deportations, a move that led the resumption of return flights. The new measures follow a tougher immigration stance by Prime Minister Keir Starmer amid mounting political pressure from opposition parties, including Conservative Party and Reform UK. Last week, the government also announced that refugee protection periods would be reduced to 30 months in an effort to curb small boat crossings across the English Channel. In 2025, 41,472 migrants crossed the channel in small boats, nearly 5,000 more than the previous year. According to Home Office, it has accepted the 6th largest number of refugees referred globally by UN Refugee Agency, underscoring its continued commitment to supporting those in genuine need. However, the plans sparked concerns within the ruling Labour Party. Around 40 Labour MPs recently criticized the proposed changes to permanent settlement rights and warning it could worsen the existing steel shortages, particularly in the care sector. The Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats have been approached for comment.
With that item, we've also come to the end of our today's bulletin, but let's have a recap of the top stories before we go. Pope Leo XIV reflects on the harmony of the Church's human and divine dimensions. Malawi Revenue Authority targets 6.07 trillion kwacha revenue collection in 2026-2027 financial year. Government calls for unity to protect and empower women ahead of International Women's Day. And in other news, United Kingdom government moves to protect asylum system with tough new visa restrictions. You've been with me, Charity Chalanga. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.